After a long day of work, sometimes I just want to turn off the lights, fire up the layout, and immerse myself in another world for a couple of hours. To imagine climbing into the cab of a hulking steam locomotive and take charge of a massive freight to destinations far away. It's moments like these that make me really appreciate adding extra touches to the layout that really immerse you in the scene. This time, I'll show you how a simple MP3 board can breathe a whole new level of depth to your running sessions, and we'll look at some new arrivals to the Jordan Nova sub. All this and so much more on this installment of Johnny's O-Gauge Backshop. Lionel Freight Sound boxcars seem to be extremely divisive when it comes to operators. Either you absolutely love them and add as many as humanly possible to your freight trains, or you have a handful of them and turn off the sounds after a few minutes because you find them extremely annoying. I find myself personally somewhere in the middle, as I have at least 2 or 3 in my consist when running trains, but on average I only have about 1 turned on with low volume. Lionel did a decent job with these sound cars, but it can get repetitive after a while. Once you've owned one sound car, you've basically owned them all. To me, they really don't capture that thunderous roar that a freight train has, the sounds of miles of metal wheels clattering on the rails, and I really wanted to bring that level of auditory excitement to the layout. After doing some research, I found a product by Gunrunner John that uses an MP3 board that can be activated via a key fob. Intended for use in rolling stock or small engines, this little board has 4 audio channels that can be activated remotely that can contain several hours of sound. Seeing how excited guests were after trying out the Broadway Limited water tower, I knew instantly that this would bring it the next level of immersion I was looking for. Looking for a place to stash the board and speaker on the layout was a challenge, but I realized that my yard tower would be the perfect spot. I secured the board to the underside of my switch tower and put together a speaker baffle using some spare postal shipping tubes so I could have some extra bass as well. As for the sounds themselves, I wanted to whip up something custom. The board includes a 1GB SD card and a card reader, which could be easily plugged into your PC. Since it was intended for a yard tower, I thought it would be fitting to use a recording from Brad Miller where the daylight passes the Burbank Tower. This was done using an online audio converter and editing the clip using Audacity. It's a very cool sequence, and you can hear the clanking of levers and accompanying bells and buzzers as the daylight rushes past.
Train coming west. That'll be number 99, no orders. Burbank Tower, clear, number 99, no orders.
With my proof of concept being a rousing success, I moved on to creating a custom background track that can be played while running trains. I wanted a combination of bustling yard ambiance, the blaring station announcements, and the clattering of wheels as trains thundered past. This was going to be a daunting task as I wanted to create an hour-long track so I didn't have to keep reactivating the sequence every few minutes. I sourced my audio from a variety of old recordings and vinyl records that others have graciously uploaded to YouTube. I focused on having as many authentic West Coast rail recordings as I could, since that was the region that my lab represents. I also added some recordings from old American Flyer and Noma talking stations to bring that classic TM nostalgia from old I Love Toy Trains videos. If you're interested in creating your own custom audio tracks, I'll link some of the sources I used down below. I am super proud of the end result, and I think it adds a whole other level of depth to the layout. Now let's scamper down to the rail yard and watch some trains as they pass by. For the sake of time, I will only showcase a handful of my favorite sequences, but if you're wanting to see the full thing, let me know in the comments and I'll make a no commentary video featuring the whole sequence as trains run past. But without further ado, here are some of my favorite clips.
number 66, Pacific Coast Limited, from San Bernardino, Riverside, and Pasadena, now arriving on track 1. Passengers leaving at gate 5. Train number 66, Pacific Coast Express, now leaving for San Bernardino, Riverside, Anaheim, Azusa, Cucamonga, Pasadena, and Los Angeles. Coach and parlor cars only. Leaving on track 2. Forward!
Reporting car number 965, rear truck box running high. Switch to track 6 for inspection. If not okay, drop car and proceed according to previous orders.
While adding to the layout can help expand the scenes, we're here for the trains that run through them. Turning our attention to the engine servicing facility, we can see that the Union Pacific fleet has been reinforced with some very iconic engines. Physically dwarfed in size, but arguably more well known by 3.0 scalers in the last few years, Union Pacific's 49er has dominated YouTube thumbnails and line-out catalogs. However, this stunning rendition from Weaver shows off the elegance that made the 49er truly unique. Unlike the Lionel fantasy schemes, Weaver's model uses eye-catching chocolate brown that harkens to luxury polished wood or leather. The red and yellow lining are bold, yet are muted enough to where they're not overpowering, while the silver accents adorn the front of the engine. What really makes this model stand out is the beautifully modeled roller bearing rods that allow for the engine to look graceful while thundering down the main line. This engine not only looks great, but has also been elevated to the next level with the help of a Blue Nami upgrade courtesy of Sid from Sid's Trains. This iconic streamlined steam locomotive headed the short-lived 49er passenger train that was jointly ran by the UP, SP, and Chicago Northwestern. The train was created to supplement the City of San Francisco that ran between Chicago to San Francisco, being the perfect option for travelers wanting to experience the Golden Gate International Exhibition. Union Pacific's stunning streamlined passenger engines proudly headed the train on their portions of the journey as they thundered their way down the line. Contrary to popular belief, the Pullman-designed cars did not feature the same striking scheme as the engines, but were instead gray and lined with yellow striping and lettering. Aside from the Rail King offerings from MTH, no scale versions of these cars exist for the 3-rail market, so for now my Lionel Lark cars will be a decent enough stand-in. While on the topic of passenger engines, few can claim the same achievements as Union Pacific's iconic FEF Northerns. With UP844 being the company ambassador for many decades, they need very little introduction. This stunning engine is from Lionel's most recent run of FEFs and is their best so far. Longtime members of the channel will remember my first run FEF that I showed off many years ago. Since then, I traded away the engine for a 3rd rail FEF that I wanted to upgrade to ESU lock sound. I was impressed by the ESU upgraded FEFs from USA Trains that Tommy Bose in Germany had, and I wanted my own version in O-scale. Though I'll openly admit they were very ambitious and costly dreams, and the engine spent most of my ownership sitting on Sid's shelves. Sid and Retro Mikado eventually convinced me to sell off my FEF in favor of the new Lionel ones. They were undoubtedly better looking, sounded fantastic, and ran beautifully. The nail in the coffin was the fact that Lionel did the two-tone greyhound scheme with white stripes, which perfectly complemented my new Golden Gate Depot heavyweights. Thanks to Sid scouting at Orange Hall at York for me, I was able to snag one and add it to the roster. We took the engine for a spin on Sid's layout, and as soon as it was shipped back to Chicago, I weathered the engine to better fit my collection. The engine looks great pulling the matching two-tone gray heavyweight train, but it looks equally as nice pulling my custom detailed Streamline cars. It's a solid runner, and I'm ecstatic to have an FEF Northern back in the fleet. Lastly, we turn our attention to the hulking behemoths known by many names: Big Blow, Bird Cooker. The list goes on, but officially, they're recognized as Union Pacific's gas turbines. The deafening roar of their turbine engines announced their presence from miles away, and if that didn't do the trick, you'd occasionally see the 12-foot columns of flame during turbine misfires. Union Pacific's gas turbines have a rich and fascinating history, and I highly recommend watching High Iron's video on these monstrous machines. This model was made by MTH as part of their Premier line and is actually one of the more hard-to-find variants in PS2. I acquired this engine as part of a trade with Matt Trainlover 9943 for my MTH City of San Francisco. The stock PS2 model has many cosmetic upgrades over the original PS1 run, but I was never a fan of how plastic looking the engine was. The biggest detractor was the molded end vents, as they really cheapened the look of the engine overall. In service, these engines got absolutely filthy, and I wanted to replicate that look with mine. Big Blow number 26 is not only preserved, but has lots of excellent reference photos that were taken during its service life. This was a very fun weathering project, and hands down one of my favorites so far. Now that the engine has been brought up to the next level cosmetically, all that was left was some custom sounds. Currently, I'm working with my buddy Tomix to build a custom sound file for this amazing engine. ECU Lock Sound has a great horn and bell, and you might recognize it from the Scale Train's offering of this model. So we're hoping to be able to incorporate that into MTH's version. A more in-depth showcase of the completed file and this wonderful engine will be coming down the line. Combining things such as custom sounds and weathering makes for an extremely immersive scene and makes for a very exciting running experience. Both make for super fun weekend projects, and I strongly urge that you try them at home. Even if you don't end up buying the soundboard, you can replicate this at home by using your phone and playing some railfan videos in the background. I hope this has helped to inspire some new projects on your layout, or at the very least given you some food for thought. There's plenty more projects coming down the line, so hit subscribe to see what else I've got on the workbench. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Johnny's O-Gauge Backshop, and I'll catch you in the next one.